Welcome back to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex, and today we're taking a look at the Legend of Tianding, a name I for sure butchered, but is this brawler more than your typical genre entry? Well, it for sure wants to be, I'll tell you that up front, but does it deliver? Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. So the Legend of Tianding tells the story of title Liao Tianding, the legendary Taiwanese folk hero, a real-life figure and the equivalent of Robin Hood, a vigilante of Taipei city, and wanted by the colonial Japanese authorities. He would rob from the rich, feed the poor, and fight for justice in the early 20th century. The story, however, here you're seeking relics of sorts that unlock a potential mystical power, all while helping the city around you. It's an incredibly in-depth story which I did not expect given the fact that its core it is a side-scrolling brawler. This game, it's a good 50-50 split, though it's blending its action with exploration and story moments. And I say that as a warning to some and a positive to others. It's a non-stop feed of text between the action, with not only the main story arc but side quests, characters to meet, and a backstory to uncover. I was generally impressed with the story, though it's presented in this episodic fashion over 6 chapters alongside manga stylings. My only issue, the text can come on heavy, and at times it felt like it really did impact the pacing of the whole experience. That, however, is more of a gameplay issue, so let's get into that. So gameplay, and we have a genre entry here in the beat-em-up world that wants to be just a little bit more, and I absolutely respect that. It's pushing against genre traits to deliver something elevated, and again, respect. Expect half of the game though to be side-scrolling, brawler action, half exploration. There's also then going to be some mini-games and dialogue. First, the combat moments in these levels are not just your typical flat beat-em-up worlds, rather, in some ways it kind of lifts from the Metroidvania idea, just at a very basic level, meaning multiple paths can be taken, and then skills that are required, they are required to progress. Think though the ability to float and then a set of specials attached to the A button that help with traversal, like an upward kick that propels you, further into the distance. The combat is solid though, no real complaints from me here. You have the standard attack, the ability to double jump, you can use items, so think health. With a tap up on the D-pad, you have a spider wire, which is essentially a grappling hook that flings you around. Sadly, that's a little underutilized. And then you also can use what's called your towel. When this is an option, an X flashes above your opponent's heads, and you actually steal their weapons. It's got limited use, the weapon in hand, but it is great fun, from staffs to axes to guns. I thought it was a unique system that allowed you to match basically every enemy. The platforming in general then is a lot of fun as well over the game's 6 chapters, with a nice variety in each location demanding just a little bit more from your skill set, including wall jumps, traps, and just general ways to end your life swiftly. The combat though, it's just well implemented. It's nothing you haven't seen before, but I really appreciated especially the 4 special moves. These are attached to the A button, and then you'll press a different direction. It allows for some strategy, but also some combo moments as well. My favourite element of it all though, it's what's known as the amulets. These allow you to shape your hero. Think the ability to triple jump, maybe restore more health or deal more power. You get 3 slots to work with, and you can assign them freely at any save point in game. That is a handy T-station. Outside of your general enemies then, you can also expect boss moments which get pretty challenging by the end game, and each demands the most of you. There's also then 2 special moves in particular in the latter half of the game that are built around dodging perfectly, so think almost a parry system, and these will be essential for success. This action though then is padded out with a whole lot of dialogue and exploration, as I was saying, over what is essentially 6 or 7 separate locations, and while I like the idea, it sadly, frequently in fact, devolves into simple fetch quests, and the map detail here in particular is lacking. It will give you a general idea of the location, but it won't go into enough detail to show you, which direction you need to go, so you simply end up running left to right until a cutscene kicks in. Thankfully, I think the game knew these moments might be a little bit slow, and they threw in fast travel for the majority of these locations, as you can call on a friend to take you around. It's just too often go here, see this person, pick this up, and then bring it all the way back, and I couldn't help but feel a little bit bored in these moments, wondering when the action would come round again. The story's good too, don't get me wrong, it just feels like unnecessary padding in what involvement there is for the gamer. In this world then you can expect to meet the locals. They'll have all sorts for you, from the homeless who you can donate to. They'll often return a gift though as a reward, and then the ability to do things like upgrade your weaponry, your health meter and your stamina. You see here combat specials in particular, they are actually attached to what is a very quickly regenerating like stamina meter. It's just the specials, not the core combat, but it means it's absolutely worth taking a little time and doing some exploration. Overall though, it's a game very much at two halves, and I think they would have benefited from maybe leaning into the action just a little bit more, because they never seem to find their feet with that exploration. It's not bad at all, just can be slow and even, I'll say, borderline tedious at points. I still found a lot to like in the end though, and the story had me intrigued for a good portion, building more to these characters than most in the genre would ever attempt. Outside of that then, there's a couple of difficulty options to face, side quests to complete which are mainly fetch quests, and then a card game called 4 Color, which it seems fine but it wasn't for me. It had a very slow pace to it. So graphically I thought it was stunning honestly. The animations of our lead really involved, and then the enemies, they naturally repeat, but they have some nice variety in there, and it constantly felt like it was increasing the stakes, especially when it came to the boss moments. The locations then are stunning, especially as you explore things like the streets, but that is bar the opening level. It finds you in the sewers. That one just felt a little bit generic. Do not judge the game on that opening moment. From there on out though, it showed some real creativity and confidence in its work. Outside of this then, the cutscenes are all done in this manga style, and again, really nice work. It's given this comic book treatment. There's a dot-like art style that carries throughout the entire game. It allows the comic book moments and in-game action to blend perfectly, and I'd happily sit down if this was a real print release. Issues wise, very few. A bit of pixelation around our hero and enemies, and some locations they do start to feel a little copy and paste to extend runtime. Overall though, I was definitely impressed. So audio finally, and it's interesting. I like the music. It's thematically what you would expect, and sound effects, they are heavy enough, with each weapon having a nice connection sound. Cutscenes between chapters basically are voice acted, the rest of the game is not, but just know these moments, they are not in English. I am all about this, it absolutely shouldn't be. It does however lead to an issue though, and I wasn't sure where to include this in the video, but the voice work is very quick on delivery, or at least from the speed of the subtitles it appears to be. Often I was reading these subtitles, they would move on before I had finished reading, and I'm actually quite a quick reader, or I would miss out on all that great art taking place above. The big suggestion here, these moments, they need to freeze on each line and ask the player to press A to advance the dialogue and story. You know, if you look away for a moment, you're gonna definitely miss something. So the final verdict, and it looks and sounds good, and the combat really is great stuff. I really enjoyed it, but the exploration moments, it seems like they had the idea in place but couldn't quite deliver on the vision. It's just, again, devolves into like a whole lot of running backwards and forwards between these locations, and while they are definitely story critical, do not get me wrong about that, they just lack any real excitement, and it highlights an issue with the map that you'll quickly realise. I'm going to basically just run left to right over and over again until something happens. By the end game, my time though was absolutely worth it, still just in these areas felt a little bit undercooked. Thankfully though, that story, really interesting, a Robin Hood figure in a setting we rarely see in gaming, and I'm happy to throw it a recommendation. A good 7 out of 10 from me, but it was so close to greatness, this one, and couldn't quite grasp on all of its own ideas. Once you're in battle though, and you're shaping your hero, it really shines, and I hope there's more to come from this team, because they've crafted something that tries something bold, and yes, it definitely stumbles, but it absolutely stands out, and that is never a bad thing. Will you be adding this one to the library then, or are you holding onto that cash? A shout out then to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.